We are going to discuss the following in thrombosis. Following questions are an important topics for university exams. First, we'll be discussing about the sequence of events in the thrombogenesis. So first, we'll see what is thrombosis. The definition of thrombosis. Thrombosis is the process of formation of a solid mass in circulation from the constituents of flowing blood. So it is a mass which is formed by the constituents of flowing blood. And this mass itself is called as a thrombus. So for example, we can take it as a hemostatic plug, which is formed usually during a cut. So it is the simplest form of thrombus. Thrombus in the unruptured cardiovascular system. So which is not damaged, we can say. So in an unruptured cardiovascular system, if a thrombus is formed, it is usually life-threatening and has harmful effects. For example, we can tell as an ischemic injury. In ischemic injury, the thrombi may decrease or stop the blood supply to the part of an organ or a tissue, which may cause ischemia. Ischemia is usually reduced blood supply to a specific organ or a tissue. So this thrombi which is formed may stop the blood supply to that part of an organ. So it is usually life-threatening. Second thing is thromboembolism. In this, what happens is a thrombus will get dislodged from the part where it has originated, and it will be carried away in the bloodstream as an embolus, and it will lodge in a distant vessel. So from the part of origin, it will be carried away to another part, and there it will get lodged, which is also a life-threatening effect of thrombus. We'll be seeing the sequence of events in the thrombogenesis. So what usually causes thrombogenesis? How is this thrombus formed? Is first, there is an injury to the blood vessel will initiate the thrombogenesis. Thrombogenesis, it can be explained by the Virchow's triad. So triad is usually letter. Virchow's triad. In Virchow's triad, a triad is usually three things. So in these three things, we have 1, 2, 3. First one is endothelial injury. Second is alteration of blood flow and hypercoagulity of blood flow. These three things are the primary events of thrombogenesis. To these three events, we can add still more events, that is role of platelets and role of coagulation system. Platelets will cause platelet adhesion, platelet release reaction, platelet aggregation, which we'll be discussing in the further slides, how these platelets will have a major role in this. And role of the coagulation system. Coagulation system is nothing but the clotting system. It has three pathways. You all know that. That is the intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway, and common pathway. So we'll be going to now. So first is the endothelial injury. First, there is an injury taking place. So the vascular injury exposes the subendothelial matrix components. So subendothelial is the layer inside the endothelium of the blood vessel. So it contains certain components, like for example, there may be collagen, elastin, fibronectin, laminin, and glycosaminoglycans. So these are the subendothelial matrix components. So these will be exposed. These components are thrombogenic. Thrombogenic is nothing but these parts. Like, for example, if we take collagen, collagen is a thrombogenic material which produces the clotting of blood. Okay. So after an injury, these components are exposed and these are thrombogenic. They play an important role in initiating homeostasis and thrombosis. Homeostasis, you all know, maintaining the homeostasis, and then thrombosis is the formation of a clot, that is the solid mass. Then the injury to vessel wall also causes vasoconstriction. Why is this vasoconstriction needed? Vasoconstriction usually is done by our body to reduce the blood loss. So it is not ultimate thing which causes thrombosis, but it transiently, temporarily will reduce the blood loss. Then endothelial injury also plays a major role in arterial and cardiac thrombi especially of the left ventricle of the heart. So arterial and cardiac thrombi means the thrombi which originate from the arteries, and cardiac is from the heart. So especially of the left ventricle. So endothelial injury usually occurs in these cases. And then what are the causes of this endothelial injury? Why should this occur? So heart. In heart, why does an endothelial injury occur, and why does it lead to formation of thrombosis? First is myocardial infarction, that is MI. Myocarditis, cardiac surgery may also lead to endothelial injury. The prosthetic valves, prosthetic is artificial valves, and ulcerated plaques in atherosclerosis. Hemodynamic stress, that is in hypertension, in high BP, there is a hemodynamic stress which may cause endothelial injury leading to thrombosis. And arterial diseases, even in diabetes mellitus also we can see the endothelial injuries are like hypercholesterolemia, endotoxins, cigarette smoke will be going to role of platelets. Okay. After the endothelial injury takes place, there is platelets come into action. Okay, the first is platelet addition. So here we can see that platelets have a surface receptor called as glycoprotein IB. Okay, so what does this glycoprotein IB does? It will recognize the site of the endothelial injury, and these platelets are usually circulating in the blood. Okay, so they will go due to this surface receptor GPIB. It will recognize the site of endothelial injury, and then it will go and adhere to the subendothelial extracellular matrix. And this is called as primary aggregation. Okay. Next, these endothelial cells. So endothelial cells are the cells present in the blood vessel. So they will secrete von Willebrand factor. Von Willebrand factor, it will bind to GPIB, that is a surface receptor of platelets, and it forms a firm adhesion. So there is a firm adhesion between the platelets and the blood vessel, so which is mediated by von Willebrand factor and GPIB. And then so this will happen the primary aggregation. So if there is any deficiency in the von Willebrand factor or the glycoprotein IB, this will cause a defective platelet adhesion resulting in the abnormal bleeding. So abnormal bleeding is there is no formation of primary aggregation, so there is no clot formation, which will lead to abnormal bleeding. Next, the second step we have is platelet release reaction. So these adhered platelets will be activated. So activated platelets will release platelet granules. Activated platelets are going to release the platelets granules. There are two types of platelet granules. They are the dense bodies and alpha granules. What will these dense bodies do? Dense bodies will liberate ADP, ionic calcium, serotonin, histamine, and nephrine. So ADP is an, what will it do is, ADP is adenosine diphosphate, I think so. Yeah, ADP. Okay. ADP is an activator of platelets. And here we also have calcium. Calcium is required in the clotting mechanism. You all know that. In the coagulation cascade. Next we have, after dense bodies, alpha granules. Alpha granules will release fibrinogen, fibronectin, platelet-derived growth factor, platelet factor 4, thrombospondin, which are all required for the fibrin meshwork formation, all those things. And then I have phospholipid complex platelet factor 3. It plays an important role in the intrinsic pathway. Okay. And the third we have here is platelet aggregation. ADP is a potent platelet aggregating agent. So we already discussed that it is an activator of platelets. So next, aggregation of additional platelets. So in this step, what happens is there is aggregation of additional platelets. So in the first step, platelet addition, we already saw that the platelets will go and adhere to the subendothelial extracellular matrix, which is the primary aggregation. In this platelet aggregation step, there is a secondary aggregation where additional platelets will aggregate. So there is a formation of temporary hemostatic plug. Okay. So the stable hemostatic plug is formed by fibrin, thrombin, and thromboxane A2. So in the slide, we saw the role of platelets, which undergoes 3 steps: platelet addition, platelet release reaction, and platelet aggregation. So next, we'll be seeing the role of coagulation system. In the role of coagulation system, we have coagulation mechanism is actually the conversion of plasma fibrinogen into fibrin. So in plasma there is usually no presence of fibrin. So usually in our blood there is a plasma which contains fibrinogen, and it will be converted into fibrin only if there is an injury. So fibrin, it forms a fibrin meshwork. Okay. So coagulation mechanism is usually conversion of plasma fibrinogen into fibrin. It includes intrinsic and extrinsic pathways. So these both pathways will converge to activate factor 10. Further activates factor 10 will further activate prothrombin to form thrombin later.